Good evening and welcome to CrosbyPlus. Tonight we're going to talk about some news and updates from the school system about how you are going to wrap up your freshman and sophomore year. And we're also going to talk about top study tips that have been offered from our college students and seniors in high school. These tips will hopefully help you wrap up the year and your grades with great success, even in this e-learning and online platform. So to begin, there was some news that was released last week from the school system about how your final grades will be reported and how you can make a choice for this spring. The first choice is you could receive a numerical grade for the work that you've done. You can choose this numerical grade to be effective as the date of March 13th, or the numerical grade could include all of the e-learning work that you've done. Best to talk to your teacher about this process if you're thinking about a numerical grade. The key here is the numerical grade will be a factor into your GPA. So it's a number. It's going to be in the average of your GPA in the calculation. You can also choose for PC19 or WC19. PC19 is to decide if you want to choose pass-fail for your class. So instead of receiving a numerical grade or letter grade, you would receive either pass or fail, a P or an F. This won't be reflected into your actual GPA, but it will allow you to receive credit for those courses. A WC19 would mean you withdraw from the class. So you wouldn't receive credit for this class, nor would it be a part of your GPA, but you would have the opportunity to retake this class for course credit or to redo it for hours in the future. So this is an option if you're interested in looking at what happened in this spring. The key here is you need to use the resources at your school. You can make this decision for each of your classes individually. So talk to your teachers, talk to your school counselors. They will best provide you with the information and the guidance on how you should decide to navigate and choose your grades for the spring semester. So why do study tips matter? Well, as I mentioned, one of the things that you can choose to do is you can choose to receive a numerical grade, including all of your e-learning that you're doing right now. So if there are final exams or final work or anything else that you're working on, or maybe you're a sophomore that has one AP already and you're taking an AP exam this spring. These are study tips that will not only help you now, but also in the future. And maybe they're just some things you can work on to enhance so that next year you start off with a big bang. So these are the top 10 study tips that have been offered from our college students and high school seniors. And I know a lot of them use these frequently. A lot of this is personal and you have to find what works best for you. So the top one, know yourself, know your environment. Do you need silence? Do you need noise? What is the environment that you will work best in? Whatever it is, create that environment. For some students, noise is very distracting when they're trying to study, so they need a completely silent space. So how can you create that, especially in this quarantine time? For other students, maybe some background music is best. Scientifically, it's been proven that noise such as TV or talking can be a distraction in actually retaining the information. So maybe it's best to find something that has no lyrics or no words, but just some background music that you can kind of help soothe you into studying. Create the ambiance if you need that. Tip number 2, don't wait and procrastinate. Kind of rhymes. The reason why this is important is the longer you wait, the more cramming you're going to feel like you have to do, and the less amount of time you're able to actually work with the material. And you're stuck in a situation where you're having to memorize or try to memorize material that just really isn't best to memorize. Instead, especially when you have math or problems that you really need to learn how to do, it's practice and exposure. So can you, if you have an exam in 2 weeks, begin studying a little bit each night leading up to that exam, so you don't feel like you have to cram the night before. You've built practice and exposure to the work, just like you're doing in class, but you're doing it after school and outside of the hours. And that should additionally help you learn this material. Tip number 3, plan your time, especially during this season, where maybe you have work and you're being told what to do at certain times and it just simply is turning in the work. Plan that out, especially if you have major projects towards the end of the semester. Map it out on a calendar. You can see mine right here. And make sure you know what's due and when it's due, especially towards the end of the semester. Tip number 4, ask for help. Just like you should be asking for help about your grading for the spring semester, you should ask for help if there's material or questions that you don't know and you need answers on. Ask your peers. Is there someone in your class that seems to know the answer because they just get the material? Ask your teacher. Is there a different way they can explain it to you to better understand what they are teaching in that classroom? I know this is a really tricky time with learning happening in all different ways for all of your classes, but asking for help is critical in making sure you can receive the information and truly understand it. Tip number 5, discover your learning style. Do you like to read? Do you like to take notes and highlight them? Do you like to take notes and rewrite them? Do you do best with visual? Do you draw out the particular thing you're trying to learn and use to study for? What is your learning style, and how then can you study to best manipulate and work with your learning style? It's really just key to understand, is it visual? Is it hearing? Is it reading? How do you work best in the classroom to duplicate that for your studying? Tip number 6, use a scent. Now this one might sound strange, but use a scent such as a piece of gum, or maybe you have an essential oil and you're smelling peppermint. Use that scent while you're studying, and then can you recreate that when you're in your actual exam environment? So for an essential oil, for instance, if you have those and have you ever used those, or a perfume, you could put it on your wrist and have that smell while you're studying and then use it during the exam. So you just put it on your wrist, and that sense of smell can help trigger memory because you're using one of your senses beyond just your brain. You're able to trigger a memory of when you were studying. Tip number 7, teach a friend. No better way to know that you learned it if you can teach someone. So try working with your peers and go back and forth and say, let me teach it to you, and then they can come back and teach it to you. So that's one great way to learn with one another. Tip number 8, drink enough water. Make sure that you are drinking enough water. Your body is made up primarily of H2O, of water. And so you want to stay hydrated. When you're not hydrated, your brain starts to shrink and get compressed, and you're not going to be able to function as well as you could if you were hydrated. So hydrate while you are studying, and hydrate when it's the day of the exam or any other type of event, project, presentation that you have. Tip number 9, organize a study space. That's another key thing, especially in this time. It might be hard to find that space that you can dedicate towards studying or working or homework, but try to create it for your studying so you can have a clean blank slate to really get into the work that you need to do. And then tip number 10, sleep. Cramming and staying up all night to retain the information, odds are you would have been better off just using a couple hours of studying and having that sleep time. So it's key to get sleep. Think about a baby. Why do they sleep so much? Because when they're sleeping, they're taking in all that they're learning and they're allowing it to absorb into their brain, and so they can use it and manipulate it in the future. The same goes for us in high school and college as adults. We need that sleep to kind of work through what happened in that day, what worked through in that studying, to remember and use it on an actual exam. I hope that you enjoyed this information. We hope that you use some of these tips in the future. And we hope that if you have any questions about how the spring grading is going for our school system in Forsyth County, be sure to reach out to your teachers individually and also your school counselors. There's tons of information that we're going to link down below about where to find the actual details of this process from the school system. Be sure to check that out first so you know exactly what is being spelled out for you.